think one of the most amazing verses of all is, and this is where I just want to bring it together for you, in Psalms 22. In verse 9. And of course, I never tire of talking about the power of the Psalms. Just yesterday in one of our Zoom classes, we were talking about King David, and the whole goal of our class in the book of Samuel has been to try and really connect with the soul of King David and really understand that soul, because he's Moshiach, and he is he's that power which basically brings about, is the tool of Hashem's hand to bring about the redemption. So it's really important for us to understand the essence of King David. And the book of Psalms is like the greatest spiritual tool in our arsenal of prayer, because King David's soul was so comprehensive, and it was so inclusive of every manifestation of the human condition, the good and the bad, that he really encompasses everything that a person goes through. And that's why the Psalms are so personal. But in this chapter 22 and verse 9, speaking about the inadequacies of a translation, right? So I have this verse, chapter 22 of Psalms and verse 9, and here in my art scroll, which is actually, I consider it to be basically the best translation that one can use in terms of accuracy, but yet this verse is translated 22:9 as, if one commits himself to Hashem, he will deliver him. He will rescue him, for he desires him. But these words that are being translated as if one commits himself to Hashem in Hebrew actually reads Gol el Hashem, which literally means roll to Hashem. Roll. And they probably didn't know how to deal with that, so they translated it commit. Okay, I don't see it. It's roll. And I think that this is, and there's a similar verse in Proverbs in 16:3, where at least the verse is translated as turn your deeds toward Hashem, but again, it's roll. And I think that this is actually the origin of the expression roll with the punches.
Yeah.
Like, roll with it.
Sure sounds like it.
Basically what King David is saying is, like, no matter what, you have to just be fluid and be able to go with it, to roll with it. Roll with Hashem. In other words, whatever is happening, however destiny and fate is manifest, and however it seems to you that it is not what it should be, just go with it. Just roll it back to Hashem, like that wheel, like the Galgal. So the reason I shared all of this, right, is because, again, the exile of Egypt, mentioned 50 times in the Torah. It is we're learning more here than just the history of the people of Israel. We're learning something that is absolutely life-changing, I think in a spellbinding way. And again, it's so important to look at what we just saw, the amazing idea that the roots of both exile and redemption is a word that can either have the connotation of a dry, lifeless pile of stones or bones, or a beautiful wave of water, or a fountain of water. And again, what was the difference between Galut and Geula, between exile and redemption? Basically, it's the Aleph. And that's why, again, the sages in their deepest teaching, I'm trying to really kind of capsulize this in a succinct way, but in their deepest teachings, the sages say exile is when the knowledge of Hashem is completely obscured. That was Pharaoh's goal. Pharaoh's goal was to so distract and break the spirit of the people that they did not consider Hashem at all. Again, that's at the end of Parashat Shemot, where they came out and they said, "Thanks a lot, like you made our very fragrance abhorrent in the eyes of Pharaoh. We're done for. We're finished now. All is lost." And Hashem said, "Now you understand." Because redemption can only happen when we understand that there is only Hashem. Ein od milvado, we say in Hebrew. There's nothing else but Hashem. But you actually see all of these lessons in the Hebrew itself, in the difference between a gal, which is a dry pile, and a gal, which is a refreshing wave, in the difference between exile and redemption, and in this whole concept of that it basically, what I'm trying to say, what I think King David is trying to tell us in Psalms 22, is that it can go either way. This is how it is, and it's a thin line between between the state of mental constriction, which is everything that Egypt represents, that we can succumb to, and the state of understanding the life-giving flow of water, of which is represented by, which Hashem's presence represents. And it's just about letting that Aleph in, letting the light of Hashem in. That's the whole difference between exile and redemption. And that's it. Again, it's so transformative when we see the lessons of the Hebrew.